As Karyn and I, months ago, thought about this service, we both decided that neither of us had the ability to say anything terribly profound or memorable on this occasion. So we decided to try something different. We came up with two questions that we wanted to have answered. What has being a part of Murray Hills Christian Church meant to your life? And then, what are your dreams for the future of this congregation? We selected some of our members, some newer, some older. Rick Kelly videotaped it and then edited it down. And we think it's wonderful. We want to share with you the first collection, What Has Being a Part of Murray Hills Christian Church Meant to You?
So Brian, you have grown up in this church, and I'm just wondering what has being a part of this church meant to you in your life?
Well, it's pretty much defined how I look at other people, I think, really, because I was embraced by this church, and it was absolutely a family for me, and always has been. And I was under the impression that people simply treated one another with tolerance and understanding and the kind of love and caring that I've always experienced in this church. I think it's helped me to look at other people as being a part of my community and my family. And it's always been a place where I can come back and kind of, when I've gone out and seen how people treat one another, come back and really see how people should be treated. So that's the biggest part of it.
Sounds like it's been pretty important and formative.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you, Brian.
There you go.
Good morning, Judy.
Good morning, Karyn.
So I am wondering, because you have been a part of Murray Hills for quite a while, what has been being a part of this congregation meant to your life?
It's given me a chance to learn, to grow, develop my beliefs and faith, and it's given me an opportunity to serve my community, the church at large. It's been a wonderful, wonderful time, and many, many, many of my friends are here. Just outstanding. I've learned from every pastor we've had, from every pastor's wife that we've had, from Sunday school teachers, and from my friends. It's been great, and it's been like 41 years.
Sounds like it's been a good community for 41 years.
It has. Changed a lot, and it's wonderful.
Thank you, Judy.
You're welcome.
So Wayne, you have been a part of this church for a very long time.
Over 50 years.
Over 50 years. And I wonder, over those 50 plus years, what has being a member of Murray Hills Christian Church meant to you?
Murray Hills Christian Church has been a community of acceptance, of love, and openness. It's one in which I've been able to develop my faith journey. It's been a good place to be comfortable. And like I say, it's always been accepting. When Mary and I joined 50 plus years ago, first time, it was primarily a younger family church, and that fit with what we were and what we enjoyed at the time. It has changed considerably since we've kind of become a family of older people, but it's still a church of openness, acceptance, and you have the ability, I think, to search out your own faith.
Sounds like it's been a good place to be.
It has been, and I hope it continues to be.
Thank you, Wayne.
You're welcome.
So Kay, this morning I'm wondering what being a part of Murray Hills Christian Church has meant to you in your life.
the prayers that people have sent up for me in my multiple health issues, and have been open and loving, and it's it is continues. It doesn't stop, and I have not felt this type of companionship ever before, and I cherish it.
Sounds like it's been important to you.
Oh yes. In fact, we have talked about that before. In the fellowship, the fun that has come out every Sunday. I will go over and sit down at one of the long tables because I cannot stand at the tables, because of hip issues. Yeah, and someone always comes and sits down with me and brings coffee besides Bob, and they bring him coffee and cookies and whatever. But the communion that they give us, the fun of it, is precious. And that to me is a gift from God. We can cherish that.
Definitely. Thank you, Kay.
Yeah.
So, Ray, I am wondering what being a part of Murray Hills Christian Church has meant in your life.
Well, I think I've been here since 1974, and that's quite a while. We were in the Walker Road Church, and I've participated in a number of different things, deaconing and eldering, but the church has been there for me through good times and bad, and it's always been a wonderful, rewarding. I don't know what I would do without it, and I hope that I've made a difference in the children's lives for this, Sunday school things, because I taught that forever and ever. I know I kind of took my original cues from Bud Bodine way back when, and never got to do adult Sunday school until the last few years or so, and that's kind of my story in a very simplistic point of view, but I don't know what I'd do without the church.
Thank you, Ray.
Mm-hmm.
So, Bud and Noni, you have been a part of this church for a very long time, and I'm wondering, what has it meant in your lives to be a part of Murray Hills Christian Church?
Well, Karyn, we started off, I think we first came here in the fall of 1964, and I think we actually joined the church, became members in 65, the spring of 65. We initially came here because Bonona's brother and his wife were members, and we lived we're part way between First Church downtown and Cedar Hills Christian Church, which was on Walker Road in those days.
Right.
I remember going out, we turned left or right. Well, we went left and went down the hill to, before the freeway was built, to Walker, and actually marched in the door there. We've been part of it ever since. I think the two things kept us in the church, and one is that the people, they were great then and they still are, and we've had some wonderful friendships that actually, how many years is it? 53 years, I guess we're talking about here, and it's just been a constant joy to be associated with them. I think it really came true to us came home, I should say, when we lost our oldest son in 1986. And the support we had from the church was absolutely marvelous, it really was.
So Bonnie, you've been a member of this congregation for a number of years now. What's it meant to be part of Murray Hills Christian Church?
I can still remember the day that I first worshiped here. And I felt such a sense of welcome. And not growing up disciple, I didn't know that Disciples of Christ was a place where everyone was welcome to the table. And Murray Hills was that place where they said, I'm welcome. And it was so wonderful. And here is where I discovered that there was nothing wrong with me because I had so many questions. I was never satisfied with the biblical answers, the interpretations that I was given in the past. And here at Murray Hills, it was okay to have questions. And I learned to take God out of God's box, this box that I'd put him into. And suddenly I fell in love with God again. And it was an absolutely life-changing experience. And it couldn't have happened anywhere else. And I am grateful every day for walking through these doors and for this being a safe place and for this being a place where I could be me.
Wow, that's great. That's wonderful.
So, Sharon, what has this church meant to you over the years?
Over the years, I've been thinking about this for the past few weeks. And first, it's a refuge. The word refuge came to me. It's a refuge for me. It's a place where I can go ask questions, question authority, maybe not get the answers I want, or maybe not get any answers at all. But I've been able to search for my religion, for myself, and kind of coming maybe to, no, I would never come to a final thing because I'd always be, I'm just searching. And the church has let me search and change definitions of different things. And I've had freedom of choice. I've really appreciated the freedom and the answering of questions. I think what it has meant to me most, especially in the last year, is that when Don was sick and dying and when he passed away, and the church was amazing. I mean, I have never felt so supported and loved and cared for in all my life. And it's still continuing. And, you know, it's genuine. It's a genuine concern and love, which I don't know whether I never allowed myself to be open to that love and caring until after Don died. But it really has changed me. You know, I've become more open. I feel like I've become more open and accepting, and that I've become more compassionate and empathetic for people and their problems, their illnesses. And, you know, I used to say, ugh. But now I'm thinking, yes, it hurts. They're hurting. And it really has opened my eyes. And the other thing is the family promise, that when Larry asked for a volunteer coordinator, I just thought, oh, I can do that. I want to do that. I have never had such a perfect fit, I feel, in my whole life. And just the process of going through it and getting things organized and everything. And then the actual week, in a British term, I was gobsmacked by the turnout of the volunteers, of the people who gave me support verbally, email, and thanked me afterwards. But I just could not believe, and I should have recognized the generosity and the willingness of this church to take on something new and to take on something that would help people. And I think, and I know, the one thing that really caught my eye when I returned to Murray Hills, because I was in Cedar Hills for a while, was the mission statement of continuing the ministry that Jesus began. You know, Murray Hills is doing it, and doing it in different ways. And we get to choose our ways that we want to follow Jesus. And I just appreciate that. Through book groups, through sermons, you know, just everything. It's become a huge part of my life. And I'm glad.
I am too.
Well, let's dream. This was the really fun part for me, to think forward about this church's life. So, Dal, the church is about to celebrate its 65th anniversary, and we have quite a history. And you've been involved in this church in a multitude of ways. In fact, I'm not sure there's a lot of offices you haven't held. But looking forward, what are your dreams for this congregation?
Well, to think about dreams going forward, I think it's important to start first, in my mind anyway, thinking a little bit about where this church was when I joined it 20 years ago. And at that point, we were kind of still a small congregation church. And we did have, of course, a focus outside the walls of this church. There were community groups that were making use of the facility, particularly scout troops. But what I have seen that really makes me most proud to say that I'm a member of Murray Hills Christian Church develop over those ensuing years. It's the breadth of engagement that we've come to adapt and grow into with other civic groups in our immediate neighborhood, with city groups, and our global expansion. And I think about the support that we give to the Disciples of Christ through Week of Compassion globally. On the city basis, I think about the growth that we've done with regard to the food pantry, which is an incredible ministry, and the people who are behind that are just gems of this church. I think about the police rest stop, and having spoken with so many of the police officers who make use of it, how they value the ability to come here during their work shifts, to have a safe place and a relaxing place to decompress, to write reports, and not have to be sitting somewhere along the side of the road in their patrol cars doing that. I think of the work that we've begun to do now in the local community with regard to Family Promise. I think of the civic groups that become more engaging in our property here. It's too many to name, but I certainly think about the relationships that we've developed with startup churches, most recently and ongoingly with Living Waters Fellowship. And so I think about how we are just a very loving and very caring congregation. And so as I look towards the future, my hope would be that we continue to expand on that sense of outreach, that sense of engagement, that sense of making sure that we are not just an isolated pocket of God's church, but that we continue to integrate and reach out and become a broader statement of God's love and God's church, and manifest that broadly through more so than we have right now.
It's really good.
The world being open and the church being open and welcome.
Yeah, and not like greeting them like they're a normal human person. Like they're you want to welcome them in, not just ask them like their life story. This is their first greeting. You wouldn't just meet someone for coffee and be like, yo, so where were you born? What's your life story? Just like invite them in.
So you see a church that invites people in and as they are.
Yeah, as they are, and not wanting to change them, but not wanting to know every little thing, like letting them open up to you as they're comfortable.
So a space of welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You've both been part of this church for several years. We're about to have our 65th anniversary. This church has got quite a history. What do you dream about for this church's future?
You know, I was talking to Sean and I was telling him it would be funny to just, since it's a dream, right? We close our eyes and see what I would imagine. And I imagine 20 kids going to the front of on the children's moment and, you know, hopping and skipping and with all the the joy and the unbridled enthusiasm that they bring, and that curiosity and that hope, and yeah, they won't stay still, but that's part of it, you know. And I was thinking also, wouldn't it be nice also to have both buses load of middle school and high schoolers, and maybe driven by people in college, to take them to camp or take them to mission trips, and that vibrancy that goes with that. And also I imagine, you know, we are not going to change who we are. We still have that honoring the traditions and the past, that we have a rich tradition at Murray Hills, and the history of both the congregation and the disciples of Christ, those values of education for our ministers, education for adults, education for our children, the values of community service, you know, whether it's to the whole wide world, where we think of our community as our brothers and sisters in India and in Colombia, in Fedice, and also our community here with the food pantry, with the family promise. I don't see any of that necessarily going away, even if it gets transformed into something different that we don't yet know.
What do you think is our greatest gift? What's the most important thing we have to share?
Most important thing we have to share, I think, oh gosh.
People and community.
The community, yeah.
Yeah.
We have a strong support for the community. Even when we had our kids, we had people bringing us food to our house, and supporting us and making us feel like we were not alone. And nowadays, I think knowing that we are not alone is important.
I like.
That's really good. Thank you.
So, Josh, you've been raised in this church, and I'm just wondering, what are your dreams for this church and for the future of your church?
Well, I've got a few dreams. Some of them a little smaller, and some of them bigger. One of them is I'd like a few more people to be at the church, because more people is always good. And another one is I'd like to have a garden here, so that way we can help grow food in addition to our food pantry.
Very cool. What kind of food do you want to grow?
You can grow quite a lot of vegetables and fruits pretty easily. We just have to set up different areas with different pH soils and different shaded areas for some things and more sunny areas for other things, but yeah.
So growing food for people who need it as a church. It's a beautiful dream. Thank you, Josh.
Yeah.
We're about to be 65 years old.
Yeah, that's...
Which is kind of amazing.
Mm-hmm.
As you look forward, what's your dream or dreams for this congregation?
That it keeps growing, and for more families and younger families to come in. Children, that's what makes the church grow. Since I work in the nursery, it always starts in the nursery. We make sure those kids love to come, and that brings their parents, because that's what they tell us, that they were excited to get up to go to church, to go to the nursery.
Wow, that's neat.
Yeah, so that's where it starts, is
That's
in
cool.
the nursery.
Well, thank you. Well, the question that we're going to ask you is, so what are your dreams for Murray Hills Christian Church? We're about to be 65 years old, and we've got quite a history. When you look forward, what do you hope for?
Well, I think there's a lot of things that we have benefited from this church, which I would hope that people who come to this church as young people would similarly be able to benefit from. When Katie and I first came here, it was, a year or so before we got married, and we had moved to the area and were looking for a church community to find, and we we found individuals like Wallace Browell who deliberately sought out young people to try and help them find each other within the church and to connect them to each other, to make new friends and a sense of community for younger people among an admittedly gray-haired congregation in some respects. And so I would hope that the more that the church grows, the more we are able to continue to foster a place where families at every stage of their life feel a sense of belonging and community, and that there's something for them.
So what do you think is the biggest thing we have to share? What's our greatest gift?
Do you want to say something about that?
Our outreach. The way that we connect with so many different organizations and people outside of ourselves. Through the food pantry, through VBS even, that we are always out working with people in the community. And I know several years ago when we were talking with a friend of a friend about the activities we're going to do, we're going to go help out the Portland Rescue Mission with our church, and they said, wow, you're really living out your faith. And that's not something that we see all the time. People say they go to church, but they don't necessarily do anything besides go to church. And we said, well, going to church is kind of a small part of who we are as Christians and as being part of Murray Hills.
Yeah, I remember that picture. As we thought about what we wanted to do this morning, we decided that what we wanted to do was to answer for you the questions that we asked those people on the video. Briefly. So what does it mean to belong to this church? There's 2 paragraphs in that for me. The first being this episode with our new granddaughter has been truly awful and will continue to be awful for a number of years. And it has felt so good for you people to care and to pray. It has felt so good. I'm the one that gives care, but it has felt so wonderful to be cared about. It has made all the difference in the world. And I believe that truly that's the embrace of God. The second thing I would offer to you is that you all have given me incredible freedom to ask questions and to think and to read and to change my mind about things and to wonder. And I don't believe the same things that I did when I came here exactly 15 years ago today. You folks have given me incredible freedom in that journey, and that's not something that every minister is granted. I thank you for that. You have helped me grow.
This is where I accepted the fact that I had been called to ministry, something I had fought pretty much my entire life, including running away from the church for a significant amount of time and deciding God was irrelevant. Funny how life turns around sometimes. But you all gave me the space to not just realize that I was called to ministry and embrace that I was called to ministry, but have walked alongside me and supported me and helped me find my feet and discover who I am called to be as a minister. And I have kept in touch with a lot of people I went to seminary with, and there is not a single one of them who has had that experience that I have been able to have here, that I have been supported and cared about and encouraged, and that has just been an incredible and amazing gift. And so it's been life-giving. You all have have changed my life more than I can actually tell you. So thank you for that.
I can say that too. They've changed my life.
Yeah, it is a life-changing congregation. And dreams. Man, you and I sit around all the time and talk about dreams. So we don't have time to talk about all of our dreams for the church. We'd be here till next week.
We would be here till next week.
Easily.
And of course, you heard it in the videos. More young people, more children. Of course. Of course. But a big part of my dream for this church's future is rooted in my belief that the church will find its life in outreach to the world. My great dream is that this community keeps finding ways to connect with the larger community to meet the needs of people in the name of Christ. I don't believe we have exhausted every possibility. I think there's more to come, and I hope that we grab hold of it.
You know, that is probably my biggest dream. More children, more families, more people. Doesn't happen by magic. It happens by the amazing people that you all are, by the outreach that we all do going out into the world. People seeing, like what Katie said in the video, we live our faith. We don't just come to church. You all don't just come here and sit on Sunday mornings. You leave and you do things. And you, to use a word that I hear Kay Merrill say a lot, you witness. You don't just go do things. You say, I do this because of my faith. I do this because I am a part of Murray Hills Christian Church. And I dream that as we continue to do that and to connect, we will grow and more of Beaverton will know who we are and want to be connected to us in everything that we're doing. That's my dream.
So thank you for hearing us out. We'd like to offer for you a prayer. And I'll begin, and Karyn will conclude. Would you pray with us? Oh God, thank you for this community of faith in which your Spirit moves so freely and boldly. Thank you that we are a community of welcome. Thank you that we are a community of service. Thank you that we can gather around your table every Sunday as brothers and sisters, looking forward to the day when your kingdom really will become in full reality. God, we pray your blessing on this congregation. May we always be vital and alive in your Spirit. May you always fly within us.
God, as we live our lives, may we remember the amazing gift, the blessings that you have given to each one of us. Each one a beloved child of yours. May each person here experience that love and joy in knowing that they are special, that you made them special. May we continue to reach out to each other and to your world, following your call to live as Jesus lived, to make a difference to help make your kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. Amen.